So this study is the sleeve gastrectomy telementoring study. It's part of the SAGES telementoring initiative, and it's a multi-institutional quality initiative. The disclosure is that we received a grant by the Foundation of American Medical Education. So sleeve gastrectomy is a relatively new bariatric operation that has gained popularity over the past decade and is now being the most common bariatric operation done in the US and worldwide. It's just one single example of a rapid change in the field of bariatric surgery driven by innovation and technology. And as you know, any new operation has a learning curve. Lap chole, when it's just introduced, has a huge learning curve, but any new operation that's out there, even the simplest ones, such as the laparoscopic adjustable gastric banding, when it came out, it still had a learning curve, and that learning curve can be associated with higher morbidity. Mentoring reduced the learning curve, and potentially its associated complication. So in 2001, the Foundation of Advanced Medical Education gave a grant to 3 surgical societies. And what they did is they wanted to evaluate skill acquisition for renal artery stenting and also iliac stenting. So they came up with this algorithm, 3-step process for acquisition of new skill. 1, structural didactics. 2, hands-on laboratory and simulation training. So these 2 steps are not new to us. Even at SAGES here, we have structural didactic, hands-on laboratory. But the one that's commonly missing is when you actually go home. A lot of the surgeons, after attending SAGES meeting, would actually go home and actually start to perform their new procedure. And the 3rd step that they were advocating in this study is on-site mentoring, whereby the mentor travel to the Mentee institution and help the mentee to perform their first several cases. So obviously, the advantage of surgical mentoring that it is real time. The mentor is being right there for you and give suggestion and learning. Certainly that will help reduce error and hopefully improve patient outcome. But there are limitations for on-site surgical mentoring. Why? Well, it's very time intensive for the mentor. Lost work productivity. You have to take the day or 2 days off. Patient or schedule conflict. There's been cases whereby the case was canceled on the day of the procedure, whereby the mentor already traveled to the Mentee institution, leading to a non-productive outcome, and certainly there's high associated travel costs. So what we did was FAME Foundation, again, gave SAGES a grant to evaluate this, but instead of the on-site mentoring, we convert that into surgical telementoring, and then instead of just hands-on course and simulation training, we add on their tele-observation. So in SAGES, we define surgical telementoring as a relationship, and I kind of highlight that because that's the critical component of telementoring. It has to be a relationship, unlike teleconsultation, where there's really no relationship. You're just calling someone up and just say, hey, can you help me with this issue of patient care? That's called teleconsultation. This is whereby you have to have a relationship between the expert, the mentor, and the less experienced learner, we call the mentee, and through the use of telecommunication from a remote co-location. So the objective of this study was to determine just the feasibility of mentoring laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy through a formal learning process and live case education done remotely. So we targeted the procedure, which was the laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy. We established a formal educational relationship between the mentor and mentee. There are state licensure issues, so therefore in this particular study, we pair the mentor and mentee within the same state. So both surgeons have the license of that particular state, except for the state of Delaware and also West Virginia. Primary endpoint was feasibility and satisfaction of telementoring process. So what we evaluated was the quality of the telementoring, the latency of the telecommunication, the visual clarity and sound clarity, and we kind of graded as, was it exceed your expectation, was it met expectation, almost met, or failed to meet the expectation, and then just an overall telementoring experience for 1 for lowest and 5 for highest. And the curriculum are listed here, so you start with the didactic, you learn about the sleeve gastrectomy technique and outcome, using the SAGES Handbook of Bariatric Surgery and the ASMBS textbook. Live case teleobservation, whereby the mentee will beam into the mentor operating room and watch several cases of the sleeve gastrectomy. And then once they are comfortable, we reverse the role whereby the mentor beam into the mentee and perform telementoring. And then the step 4 is really just evaluation process of the entire telementoring process. So here, unlike most other new procedure, we actually utilize competent surgeon currently perform sleeve gastrectomy, just because we don't want to have the issue of liability associated with this. So these are just competent surgeon that already doing sleeve gastrectomy, and then the mentor has to perform significant amount of sleeve gastrectomy, which came up with the number of 75, and participate within the MBSA Corporate Credit Center. So these are the institution of the mentee listed here, 13 practicing surgeons from these institutions. I just want to note that there are 2 of the surgeons came from outside the US, Guatemala and Argentina. And then 3 MIS fellow from these institutions listed here. So this is a list of mentors from 4 different institutions that mentors the 15 mentees. This is the platform we use. We did this project in collaboration with Karl Storz, and this is what's called the Visitor One system. It's a remote presence system. Essentially, sit on the cart. It doesn't have to be in the operating room all the time. You only pull the cart out whenever you need it and just roll into the operating room, and you actually connected the image directly to your monitor. So when you're ready, you can actually visualize exactly the same image as you would, but through telementoring. So the receiving end can be either a laptop such as this, an iPad, or an iPhone with a specialized app. As you can see here, I have the app on this particular laptop. I can actually see the operating room and actually control this Visitor One and able to move it around. So this way I can actually get a perfect visualization. I can use it as a laser pointer. I can also video record, and I also can telestrate. So there are a variety of features that you can use in this telementoring platform. Just an example, so Aaron from Montefiore here is watching me doing case here, and he's watching on an iPad. So he's beaming in. So when teleobservation, the Visitor One's actually in the mentor operating room. This Visitor One has to be wherever you're going to actually do the mentoring. So as you can see here, it's in my OR, and then vice versa. When I actually telementor Aaron, then this Visitor One has to be shipped to his institution. Here's another surgeon, and this is outside the US. If you have good Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter where you are at all. So this is a surgeon in Guatemala watching exactly the same thing. And when he's ready, he can actually convert this to an S video, which direct laparoscopic image as if he was in the operating room. It's close enough. How about that? I'm not really sure if it's truly high def, but it's pretty much there. Here's an example of multiple teleobserver. So this is Diego Camacho operating on a sleeve gastrectomy, and you have 2 group of surgeons watching him. So it doesn't have to be a single. So when you do teleobservation, you can actually, multiple group can actually join in and actually observe the procedure. And then once that is complete, we convert to the telementoring session, which is the step 3, and whereby the surgeon now actually performs the procedure, and I'm actually helping the surgeon. So I'm now on the monitor here, watching and helping the surgeon. And again, utilizing the specialized laptop. And this is my view. So when we start out, the mentor doesn't come on until everything's draped. For HIPAA, we don't really, beam in until the patient's completely draped, whereby we cannot identify the patient. And this is what can be visualized. Normally, the telementoring Visitor One cart is positioned at either the 3 o'clock position or the 9 o'clock position. So this way, the surgeon can concentrate on the laparoscopic operation, but occasionally can glean over and discuss a discussion point with the mentor. And this is my view. At the start of the case here, we're not looking at the laparoscopic visualization, so we're just looking at the real life visualization, and you can see here, I can actually see, where he's making the trocar position. So certainly if he asks about, the position of the trocar, we can, help him with regarding to move left or move right, and then I can actually move the robot and actually look at his own laparoscopic image. And then once everything is in, meaning the laparoscopic image is in, I convert that to a laparoscopic image, and I will not look at the outside image like this anymore. Everything will be the laparoscopic image. This is another method utilizing a conventional iPhone. This is just a regular iPhone. This is actually the old iPhone. This is iPhone 4. So you can use any iPhone you want as long as you have the specialized app. This is a common mistake whereby you staple too close to the incisor, and you can see here the surgeon's about to do that, and I'm just walking around. I don't even have to be sitting down, but you can see here that we can actually telementor using the iPhone. So this is our result. Essentially, it was very well received by the Mentee. 100%, 91%, 82%, as you can see here. Even sound clarity, visual clarity. And it's a very good overall experience of telementoring without really, the mentor evaluation was a little bit less, 50%, 40%. Certainly, I think the mentor is a little bit more critical about the visualization and the sound. But overall, it was a very good experience. These are just some of the comment by the Mentee with regarding to the great technology and the great platform. And these are some of the logistic limitation, really communication between the mentor and mentee on the day of surgery. Certainly, we have poor access to the equipment itself because we only have a single visitor one. There's certainly issue with equipment malfunction. There's issue with liability indemnification. And then the mentor and mentee has to work within the state line. And there's also variability in the mentee acceptance of advice. Certainly, I can give advice, but it doesn't mean that the mentee is going to accept my advice. There's financial implication. How do you have a payment model for the mentor? And certainly the cost of it right now is a little bit prohibitive. It's in the excess of $50,000 to get these type of platform. And certainly, what about the cost for malpractice coverage for the mentor? So inclusion, telementoring is certainly feasible. It's highly rated by the mentee and the mentor. I think it provides a convenient educational platform, and it can potentially replace the conventional on-site mentoring model. Thank you very much.
We have time for one question or two.
Yes.
Fantastic work. I just wondered if you could comment about telementoring versus, for example, telecoaching, where you can review a video after the fact, which removes some of the liability and scheduling issues. Thanks.
Yeah, telecoaching is a little different, but we think that the true benefit is really the live interaction and actually changing the course at that particular moment. I think in retrospective, I think most likely that's the coaching is for not novice. It's really for surgeon that's already doing the operation and wants some tips to improve their technical skill. We're talking about translating telementoring to truly novice, meaning you have never done that operation before. This is your first time ever. I think that approach is not going to work. You're going to have live interaction.
Great presentation. I have one quick legal question. Having a wife that is a lawyer, I'm always involved in this. One is, did the patient approve this mentor to come into the operating room, and how do you do that through your IRB, or because this was a study, you have to have a IRB done at the universities or the centers? And number two is, even though you discussed that the mentoring malpractice will be very expensive, how do you cover that during the study, or there was no malpractice for the mentors?
Yeah, so with regarding to the IRB, we actually try to submit the IRB and they won't even accept it. They think this is a quality improvement initiative, and that's exactly what our title is. It was trying to improve the quality. But I have to say that when you actually consent the patient, you have to tell the patient that they're actually another person beaming in to actually help you with that particular case. So you have to divulge that information and get consent from the patient. And there's also a consent that needs to be signed whenever you have televised a procedure like that.
And regarding the malpractice, were all these mentors covered by any malpractice during this study?
Yeah, you know, for the study, the mentor were covered by their own institution. We did not buy coverage. So you actually have to tell your own institution that you're about to do this procedure, and they actually write up a little coverage for that. So there's a lot of limitation. I don't think telementoring is ready to go today. I think you have to kind of overcome a lot of these limitations that I kind of discussed to even implement it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great study. Thank you.